Leaving for California. California, here I come. Stories from my life. California, here I come. Stories from my life. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna Brianne. I don't give advice, suggestions, information, recommendations. I just share with you my perspective on different topics, as is with this one. And I hope you like, share, subscribe to all 5 of my channels. Links are pinned at the top of the comments section below. If you connect with me, I will likely connect with you. Well, as y'all know, I've been telling little stories from my life, bits and pieces, not in chronological order. It's sort of like whatever comes to mind. So this one today is about California, here I come. But the truth is, I didn't know we were going to California, nor did my mother when we ended up. It was the mid-70s, and my mom had a brand new Pontiac, white Pontiac. It was beautiful. And we would ride around in it, and those cars were pretty big back then. They weren't like they are today. And so I've already told the story about my first apartment and how my mother moved me out because she was because of the angel in the trench coat. You'll have to go back and look at that video if you haven't heard that one already. And I called it the angel with the trench coat, that the angel came to protect me, and it would stand under a street lamp every night. At least I believe it was an angel. And anyhow, I told that story, and then how she whisked me away, and I ended up in college and summer romance with a guy that had 100 parking tickets, and all that kind of, so I told my college story. So this was like on college summer, summer vacation. And so the following year. So I was about 19, I think, just right around 19. And so my mother and I decided to just get in the car, and we packed our suitcases, and my stepfather stayed behind, and we just decided to take a little vacation. So we just started driving south. And so we stopped in, my mother had met someone in New Orleans, and they had given my mother their number, and they said, if you're ever coming through town, stop by. Well, this person was a very, very wealthy oil person, and is all I knew. So we called, and they said, yeah, come on over, and they invited us into their spacious home, and we ended up staying there for a night or two, and they took us to this amazing dinner, and it was just really a lot of fun. And that I was very young at the time and so impressionable. All that was like, wow, this is so rich compared to where we were from. And so anyhow, my mother and I then proceeded, and we decided that we were going on to Texas because we had family friends there that were more like family. They had been long-term family friends, and I called her Aunt Pat. And so we were headed on to Texas, but as we're nearing it, as we're getting towards where we had to make a choice which direction to go, it was one direction was to, I think, Dallas, and one direction was to California. And for some reason, California had popped up in our minds because we had relatives. My real aunt was in California. And so we just kind of made a momentary decision and headed for California. California, here we come. Here we were like two birds driving around in this big white Pontiac, going across country, having no real clue where we were going, what we were doing. I was planning on going back to college in the fall at that particular university. And so we were just taking off, having fun. Well, we ended up in a small town near where my aunt lived. It really wasn't small, but it was smaller than where my aunt lived. She lived in a beach community. And we stayed at a motel. And I remember the show, I think it was called Alice, was on, where she was a waitress, and she'd work with, a couple other waitresses and a cook that owned the restaurant or something like that. And I remember watching that. And I think we stayed at something called like the Twilight Motel. And but we had a lot of fun coming across country. We stopped at all the nice restaurants, stayed in nice motels, and all of that. So now we're in California. So my aunt invites us to stay there, and we were there for about a day or two, and we just started looking at apartments. And lo and behold, I ended up kind of like on a moment's notice renting an apartment. So there I was, now with an apartment and no job. But I'm supposed to go back to college, to the university, but now I'm not, I guess. So what am I going to do with my life? Am I going back to college out in California? Or what am I going to do? So I went and I got a job as like a receptionist secretary. It was more like a secretary, and I was on that for a couple weeks. And I also got a job as a waitress. And so I was busy, and I went back to the local community college there, just for the, like the end of the summer or something like that, whenever, to take a class. And I met a lady who said to me, I was sitting on the park bench outside. This is a lady that was in my class, but I really had not talked to her before or talked to her after. And she said, why don't you become a nurse's aide? There's a big demand for nurse's aides. And so the next day I called in the phone book for nurses' aides, but there was no schools for nurses' aides, but there was a school for nurses, So I went and I took all the entrance tests, did really, really well, but never went back because it was so expensive. And so I went off to Newport Beach to look for another job, but I was too young to serve alcohol, so I didn't come home with any job. And when I'd come home, prior to that, I'd prayed and I said, Lord, if you want me to go to nursing school, it's in your hands, because I've done everything I can and I can't make anything else happen. It's in your hands. Well, when I came home, a call had come in. My mother was visiting, still staying there, and the call came in and said that they wondered why I didn't come back. And my mother said, well, the nursing school is too expensive. She can't afford it. And they said, well, you know what? We've got a special program. We'll put her on, and we'll even pay for her living expenses. So my prayers were answered, and away I went to nursing school. And so I've done a whole video on that, and I'll either put it up before this one or after. It's called Going to Nursing School, and I'll put that up. So that was how we ended up in California. It wasn't a planned thing. And I was to stay there many, many years, and then I would marry my husband, and we would leave. So if you're keeping up with all my stories and everything, you can kind of piece them together in your own chronological order, because I'm not telling them in chronological order. Okay? Well, from my house to yours, may God bless you, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Porch, a place to relax and a place to enjoy. Grandma's Porch.